him with us on the show. The gentleman from the great state of New Jersey, Senator Cory Booker. My brother, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing great, Mark. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate the time to talk.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. Are you going to attend the State of the Union night, or are you one of those boycotting?
No, I respect my colleagues who are boycotting, but I just, out of respect for the presidency, I believe that I should be in that seat, and I think it's the right thing to do.
What do you anticipate hearing from him tonight?
Well, after hearing his American Carnage speech last year, which was one of the more painful things to sit behind and hear a United States president say after, Lincoln with malice towards none, with charity towards all, his speech was more like with malice towards everyone and charity towards none. I don't have great expectations. I mean, we're being told that he'll talk about infrastructure, that he'll talk about Afghanistan, that he'll talk about and brag about his so-called economic growth and achievements. But again, we've heard him be a president who puts out a lot of rhetoric that's contradictory, that he simply lies, and that isn't backed up by a real commitment to the ideals of this country. And even his infrastructure plan, I doubt will have the kind of investment that Eisenhower made, a Republican president. His investment would have been about $1 trillion in today's dollars. Instead, the president, what he's done with about $1 trillion is give it to the top 1% in the biggest tax giveaway, blowing a hole in our deficit, not to create jobs as infrastructure would, but to give it to corporations and others. And we know from corporate practices over these last decade where they've had record corporate profits, they're not going into creating jobs, research and development. They're not going into things that actually grow the economy for everyone.
Are you, Senator Booker, going to stand up and applaud when he takes credit for reducing black unemployment?
we God bless America. We unfortunately, the state of black financial well-being is actually not good. We're seeing the black-white wealth differential be greater than it's been in a generation. We're seeing a very painful reality when it comes to African American wealth that has been devastated and has not recovered since the Great Recession. This is not a time to be bragging about black economic success. We have a lot more work to do. And the problem we have in our economy right now is many people have jobs or working harder than their parents, but we've seen stagnant wages for decades now. While corporate profits are about a 60-year high, workers' pay is about an 80-year low. So we have a lot of work to do to make this economy get back to where it used to be, where productivity, where work paid, where there was dignity in work. We are a nation actually that's falling behind compared to our peers in terms of the kind of security that comes with work, whether it's having health care or paid family leave, or unfortunately we have millions of Americans who work full-time jobs but are still at or below the poverty line, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And isn't it also the case that this State of the Union is really overshadowed by the investigation, by everything we're seeing, including, I want to get your thoughts on this too, the abrupt resignation of the Deputy Director of the FBI on yesterday, Andrew McCabe. Carl Bernstein of Watergate fame calls that the Monday slaughter or the Monday massacre.
Well, look, we're seeing an administration in crisis right now. While President Trump calls this the greatest witch hunt in American history, which is so offensive when you think of the Scottsboro Boys or Emmett Till, the kind of horrific either witch hunts or lack thereof investigations that have occurred in our history. We know that this president has had high members of his circles who have engaged in actions that have led to indictments that have fueled this investigation to go further. And it is a White House that has its back against the wall. On top of that, we know we have a president that has authoritarian tendencies. In other words, he tried to fire the special counsel, but was stopped by someone in his office. He fired the FBI director. He has a willingness to do things that are more reminiscent of despots in other countries. Like he's still today talking about arresting his former opponent, which is something that despots do in other
Right.
countries. And so this is one of many shadows that's hanging over him as he goes to take the podium tonight. Not just this, but also his consistent demeaning, degrading, and bigoted comments, which are fueling the kind of terrorism in this country that most folks
Hmm.
aren't talking about. Since 9/11, we've had about 85 terrorist attacks. Over 70% of them have been right-wing attacks. The majority of those are white supremacists. And to have a president that literally white supremacists are using his rhetoric as license for the things they're doing, there's a direct connection. So there are many shadows hanging over this president and his consistent demeaning and degrading. We haven't even yet gotten to his foreign policy, whether it's what you all were just talking about, his complicity with the Russians, who didn't just attack past tense our country, but they are attacking our country as we speak, trying to undermine our democratic institutions and our future elections. The challenging issues he's got with North Korea, where his bombast and his language is not contributing to an environment where we can actually diplomatically solve these problems. And another example is just South Sudan, one of the greatest humanitarian crises we have in our country, and he's failed to even appoint the diplomatic leaders we need to deal with this crisis. So this is a person who has many shadows. There's a darkness hanging over this presidency right now, and I don't think he's going to bring the light tonight. If anything, I think he's going to contribute to a lot of the pain and agony that folks are feeling in America and abroad.
He's probably feels no need to appoint people from the State Department to deal with S-hole countries, as he calls them, and I want to applaud in before you, as we all did, your passionate remarks at the hearing for the head of DHS, and you standing up in that way, and we do appreciate that. Let me ask you this though, this release of this memo that's being discussed. They're acting as if this is equivalent to the missing 18 minutes of the Nixon tapes. This is a subjective document, isn't it? This is their opinion of the conspiracy they're trying to promote. They meaning the Republicans, right? This is not anything definitive in this memo. Am I understanding that correctly, Senator?
Well, I think it's even a stretch to call it opinion. From what I hear, the source classified document that they're pulling from, that this memo is a distortion of the facts of that source document. This memo could potentially compromise sources and methods that our security intelligence community uses, and intentionally feed a conspiracy theory to try to delegitimize our intelligence community. This is a dangerous game that the Republicans are playing that will have consequences if they continue in this manner. And how many conspiracy theories have we seen over the last 2 years, fueled by the right, that have resulted often in violence, like we saw in a pizza place, but these wild conspiracy theories that have no basis in actual fact whatsoever. And so when you have the president's own Justice Department trying to stop them from releasing not the source documentation, which would be bad enough to release, but a perversion of that source documentation.
Right.
These are unacceptable tactics that are being used, and this fury and fire that has been created within the right around this is to me tantamount to a dangerous conspiracy theory that can undermine the important work our Justice Department and intelligence communities do.
Well, if it's undermining, Senator, ought we consider these very actions to be obstructive themselves?
Well, obstructive, I might say, tantamount to treasonous in the sense of when you violate the intelligence community's mandates around classified documentation and what should be released. You could be betraying, or especially if you're revealing sources and methods or giving some color to sources and methods, you're actually endangering fellow Americans in the intelligence community and our ability to source intelligence. So to me, this is something that could be potentially viewed as treasonous.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a statement, Senator Cory Booker, with us, sir. We appreciate your time with us. I guess before we go, I have to ask you: I, don't you want to use my show to do something exclusive in light of everything that we've heard with all the troubles we have? Don't you want to use my show to do something exclusive and announce something right here and now?
Well, let's talk about the future when the future comes. Right now, you and I should be focusing on the 2018 elections, and maybe
Yeah.
as soon as those are over, I can come back on and we can talk about the 2020
All
election.
right, wonderful. And folks, 2018 is important. We got to get out to vote, as the senator is saying. None of this matters if we're not ready to get out and vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. One other thing. Is anything going to come out of this February 8th deadline, you think, in terms of DACA? Is that realistic?
Um, it's realistic for us to have hope. I was on the floor of the Senate talking to colleagues of mine on both sides of the aisle. There's furious work going on amongst a moderate group of Republicans with some of our fellow Democrats. So I am hopeful, I'm going to keep my expectations low and my hopes high, and we'll see where things land. But we cannot be a country that leaves folks behind, whether it's dreamers who are Americans in every way, but a piece of paper. I'm bringing a dreamer to the State of the Union tonight who is an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur. She employs about 800 people. We can't leave these folks behind. We can't leave people in Puerto Rico behind who are still about 40% suffering without power. We can't leave people who are veterans who are suffering from inadequate health care, or people who are struggling with the disease of opioid addiction. And so this is going to be a moral moment on February 8th, and there's an urgency to our work. People are suffering. So I have high hope, but I'm going to continue to work to try to bring pressure so that we can actually get something done for the people of the country. That's why we were elected.
Is there any chance that the Democrats will not vote for the continuing resolution if nothing happens? Are we at the point where it might be right back in a shutdown situation again?
Well, I have said unequivocally, and I have not voted for any CR that
Right.
leaves dreamers behind. I am here as an African American in the United States Senate because there are people, even when it seemed irresponsible to do so, said I'm not going to leave African American families behind. They will get full citizenship. They will be respected for the truth of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it's a moral issue. I cannot leave fellow Americans behind who I believe are being discriminated against and unfairly treated. It's just something I can't do.
Right.
As my mama told me when I came down here, she says, "Boy, don't forget where you came from and what it took to get you here." And so I'm going to honor that and not. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know where I'm going to stand if we don't get this deal done.
Amen. Amen. Senator Cory Booker, thank you, sir, for spending this time with us. Good luck with everything, and let's please stay in close touch. Okay, brother?
I would like that a lot. I look forward to being back on.
All right. Take care now.
Thank
Senator
you.
Cory Booker, our very special
Bye-bye.
guest, folks. Bye-bye. 866-99-SIRIUS, 866-997-4748. He went on the record, folks. He said, I said obstruction. What did he say? Treasonous. 866-997-4748. Your calls. Join us on the air, 866-99-SIRIUS. We're going to end our stream now, and please share this stream. Very strong words